Today is about throwing a DIY budget-friendly wedding. My husband and I planned our entire wedding ourselves with the help of our parents, both his and mine. We were able to spend just about $7,000 on our wedding, but I have written out all of the things that you need for a DIY budget wedding. First thing that you think is, what will I wear? I ended up finding my dress at David's Bridal for about $270. After alterations, give or take, it was about $320 total. I ended up finding a tailor who could do my alterations, so I was able to save a lot of money. She did it out of her home. I loved all of the work that she did. She did a lot of work to it for not a lot of money. This is somewhere where you can save a lot of money, finding a good tailor who does it from home or a small mom and pop shop. My husband, we found a suit we bought off the rack at Macy's. We ended up only needing to tailor the pants because the coat fit him so well. And the alteration for the pants were like $15. It was great. They had it done the same day. We dropped it off and went shopping, and it was done in like 15 minutes. So that is a great way to save money. If you don't have a gigantic groom's party, or you're going to have your groom wear something different than the rest of the bridal party, this is a great option for you. Not only do you get to keep the suit, but the cost of rentals versus purchasing is almost comparable. David and I planned not to have a bridal party. That was just our choice. We wanted it to be about us. We didn't want the stress of thinking of who's gonna wear what, who's gonna do what. So instead, we had my friends' kids walk down the aisle with us. We had my best girlfriend, Tori, who I'm sure you'll see on the blog, her little son, Warren, who was about 2.5 at the time. He walked down the aisle. My friend Paula's little son, Eli, walked down the aisle. It was very sweet and really affordable. We ended up finding their little outfits at Target on clearance for like $5 a piece, and they just wore their own little shirts. It was adorable, everyone loved it, and I didn't have to deal with the bridal party drama. Directly after thinking about what you'll wear, you think of, where will we get married? I'm lucky enough to have friends that own a bunch of land right outside the town that Dave and I both grew up in. They have 50 to 60 acres, so we were able to separate our ceremony and our reception area very easily, as well as have enough room for parking and everything else that's needed for a wedding. We gifted them about $500 for using their land because that was beyond half of the cost. It was a third of the cost had we had the wedding somewhere in the little town we grew up in, a banquet hall, or something more fancy. Dave and I both love to camp, we love the outdoors, and we love the rustic theme, so this was a perfect opportunity to include all of those things within our wedding. After ceremony space, you think about, how am I going to decorate it? We spent about $550 both on flowers and extra decor around the barn, in our tent, and at the ceremony space. My mother and I did all of the flowers. Correction, I should say my mother did all the flowers. Typical weddings, floral can cost you about $800 to $1,200. So for $300 and an afternoon spent with my mom, it was well worth the money saved to do our own floral. For the centerpieces, we used mason jars we found on Craigslist. We got about 120 of them for $100. The stem vases were about 25 cents each at the thrift store, and each silver tray we found at the thrift store about 50 cents each, I believe. The mason jar, the stem vase, the tray, and floral within each probably cost us about $10. A great way to save money and to remember those who are no longer with us was to make a wedding video. We borrowed my father-in-law's television, and I created a photo montage of all of those who are not with us today. My father, my grandmother, and David's grandmother and great-grandmother. It was very sweet, and it was wonderful to see photos and videos of your loved ones when we were cutting the cake, when we were in the barn. It was very sweet, and it meant a lot to us. And it was completely free. Something that you might want to keep in mind is your cheap decor. Bring the photos from home. Bring the extra candles. That kind of stuff helps. One of my favorite decorations was a lantern that I put in the center of the sweetheart table. I put a picture of my mom and dad's wedding photo and a picture of his mom and dad's wedding photo on each side, and it just made a very, very sweet touch. Another free aspect of our wedding decor was Christmas lights. We put them everywhere. In the barn, around the barn, outside of the barn, in the tent. It was cheap. We all saved up because we just used our Christmas lights that we always use every single year. Here in Buffalo, New York, we use Christmas lights. So it was something that we all had. If I had to buy them new from Rite Aid or one of the drugstores, it still would have been only about $5 a box. So that's a cheap option that gives nice uplighting and just very simple decor. After decor, I always think of what am I going to eat and drink, because we all care about what we're going to eat. We found catering from a small restaurant here in town that was willing to do the catering for about $800 total. We had a barbecue layout, we had pulled pork, lazy pierogi, some pastas, salad, and everyone was happy and full by the end of the day. $800 is minimal compared to some of the banquet foods that charge you about $40 a person or more. For drinks and alcohol, we only provided beer and wine. My family makes wine, so it only cost about $80 total for about 100 bottles of wine. We didn't even use all the wine. For beer, we spent about $150 on a couple cases of beer, and we had so much left over, it wasn't even funny. A great way to save money that a lot of people don't think of is to have a day wedding. We started our wedding about 1:30 and ended around 6:30. This time frame causes people not to drink as much alcohol as usual and not to overstuff because it's a lunch menu, not a dinner menu. It also gave us time after our wedding to spend time with people that came in from out of town, which meant a lot. Don't you just love buying a brand new white dress from the store and then going to a family barbecue and spilling pulled pork all the way down your white dress? Yeah, I love that. Plasticware stinks. My mother and I drove around to every single thrift store you could find in Western New York. When I say every single one, I mean every single one. We found Chinaware for practically nothing. We got mixed match plates and mixed match wine glasses, which was kind of sweet in the end. They were all antique. We stuck with the 20s to 50s range. It added to the rustic feel of the wedding, and it saved us money, and we weren't eating off plastic. We wanted to keep it a little bit more elegant, so this was a great way of doing so. We also ended up buying all of the silverware at thrift stores as well. They would give us wonderful deals. They don't like the silverware. Not a lot of people buy silverware at thrift stores. So it was a great way. We would buy it in bundles and they would give it to us for 20 bucks. I think we ended up spending like $40 on all of the silverware total. A couple runs through the dishwasher and the stuff was as good as new. The nice thing about all of this was we were able to keep a lot of keepsakes from our wedding. We passed out sets of wine glasses, sets of plates to all of our close family and friends so they could have a remembrance from our wedding. People end up spending a lot of money on rentals. We rented an outdoor tent, tables, chairs for both the reception and the ceremony space. Total we spent about $1,500. They cut us a deal because 1, we helped set up, and 2, we paid in cash. A lot of small shops like this will cut you breaks for paying in cash or doing odd end gifts for them. Contact your local vendors. They're most likely to cut you breaks for small things like this. And of course you need hired help. We had a wedding officiant who I found on weddingwire.com. He was phenomenal. He knew what he was doing. He was calm, concise, kept David calm when everything started to fall apart. Try to find wedding officiants that have videos of them speaking. It always helps to reassure you when you're trying to pick a stranger to wed you, what they'll sound like and what their style is. Not only did he dress the part, he acted the part, and he looked the part. Our music was the best money spent. It was only $650, and they had a live trio band that played modern music like Rihanna, Stevie Wonder, all the good R&B like classics. And it sounded fantastic. It was so much fun. It gave another aspect to our wedding. It made it a little bit more elegant than just having a DJ playing this and that or elevator music. Everybody seemed to love the live music, so I'm very happy that we did that. And as for our DJ, like I said, it was a day wedding, so we kept it light and airy, simple, folkish, fun music that not only you could dance to, but it wasn't obnoxious. We did not need anyone bumping and grinding on our dance floor. We kept it very PG-13, probably more like rated G, because a lot of our family and friends were older. We only invite about 10 friends total. That helped with the cost as well. Your guest list is so important. Family comes first always. That's my rule of thumb. So when inviting your friends, you have to remember not everyone is going to be in your life forever. So try to choose friends that have been there from the very, very beginning and will be there until the very, very end. Another great way to save money for your wedding is don't get a cake. I'm personally not a cake person. I don't know if a ton of people are for weddings. It seems like a lot of cake is left over at every wedding I ever go to. So for our dessert option, we did pies. Since it was fall, we did apple, cherry, rhubarb. I mean, we had like 6 or 7 different flavors of pie. Some of my aunts baked pastries and desserts as well. And then my in-laws' family and friends made Italian cookies. So we had platters at every table and then kind of a buffet spread of all of the desserts. We did end up ordering a little cake. It was about $20. And it was just for the photo, and that's about it. I think 3 people had slices of the carrot cake that we ended up choosing. But everyone seemed very happy with the pie. And having a station at every table was nice as well. Not everyone wants to get up or wants to explore, and not everybody can. Grandmas and grandpas were in wheelchairs. They couldn't get up and go around the barn and see all the different desserts. So while they were waiting for somebody to make their plate, they had something to munch on sweet at the table. Photo and video are the most expensive things that you'll end up spending on your wedding, hands down. It's one of the most important things of your wedding because it's what you remember it by. But typically, thousands and thousands of dollars are spent on video and photography at weddings. Fortunately, I found somebody to do my wedding video very fair. Videography was one of those things that I could have cut out the budget, just trying to save some money, but I am so glad that I didn't. I'm telling you, it was worth every penny. Having video of your loved ones, especially ones that won't be with you forever, means the world to me. It'll be so nice to show our kids someday, our little girls someday, a video of our wedding and seeing their great grandma and grandpa. It is just such a memorable keepsake that you should absolutely splurge on. And as for our photography, in our case, we were lucky enough to have my in-laws gift that to us because that was a huge amount of money that we just weren't able to spend. So they did pay for that. But you can find photography from $800 to, gosh, $5,000. We were somewhere in the middle of that. But I have to say, our photos came out fantastic. A cheap thing to do that many people just don't think of is hire students, hire local artists. There are so many entrepreneurs nowadays that charge less or will give you breaks if you have them only for a couple hours throughout the wedding or this or that. There are so many ways to save money in photo. It's just a matter if that's all right with you. I found that with our videographer, we probably could have cut some of the spending on the photography just because an all-day account is a lot of money. The videography showed it in live action, which was really, really nice. So you just have to find out what's important to you in the end. But either way, anything video and photography, you'll always love because that's what you keep forever. My last tip of advice is to be realistic. We got married in Buffalo in late September. It starts to be very, very unpredictable weather then. It ended up pouring on our wedding night. Unfortunately, we couldn't do our favors, which were s'mores next to a campfire, which would have been very sweet touch. Just be realistic with your location, the time of year that your wedding is, and the location of your wedding. It all matters. There are so many good, cheap ideas for a DIY wedding. I hope that this helped you. I would have the same wedding again in a heartbeat. I wouldn't have changed a thing. Maybe the favor, but honestly, it was a perfect night. We had a wonderful time, and I'm married to my best friend, so what more could a girl ask for? And hopefully you yourself feel inspired to do a DIY wedding. I'm telling you, it was worth every single penny saved, because I can't fathom spending that much money, then trying to go on a honeymoon, then trying to buy a house or move in together, or if you already move in together, just normal life stuff, or planning for a family. Every penny counts, and even if it's not your own and you're using your parents', it still counts. I'll see you at the next tea time. In the meantime, leave me comments, leave some discussions that you might want me to talk about. I know a lot of family and friends are watching, so if you have questions or concerns, or want to know more information about our DIY wedding, please leave it below. Alright, bye guys!